The morning started like any other. The sun sliced through the blinds, painting stripes across the hardwood floor. I was in my usual routine, stumbling to the kitchen, putting on the coffee, and sorting through the mail on the counter. Bills, junk mail, a postcard from a friend traveling abroad, utterly, disappointingly normal. I remember sipping my coffee, leaning against the living room wall, and scrolling through my phone. That's when I saw it. At first, it was just a faint line, a subtle crack in the plaster that I'd never noticed before. I ran my fingers over it. It wasn't a crack, it was a seam. A perfectly straight, clean seam running from the floor to the ceiling. And in the middle of it, gleaming under the morning light, was a small, ornate brass doorknob. My heart did a little stutter step. This was impossible. I've lived in this apartment for 5 years. I knew every scuff on the baseboards, every water stain on the ceiling. This wall was solid. It was the wall I put my couch against. There had never, ever been a door here. My mind raced for a logical explanation, a prank. Maybe the landlord was doing some bizarre, unannounced renovation. I pushed on the door. It was solid as a rock. I twisted the knob. Locked. I pressed my ear against the cool surface, expecting silence, but I heard something else. A faint, rhythmic sound, like soft footsteps, pacing back and forth, just on the other side of the plaster. Over the next few days, my life began to unravel. I tried to ignore it. I moved a bookshelf in front of the door, hoping that out of sight would mean out of mind. But the evidence of its presence kept intruding on my reality. One morning, I found faint footprints in the carpet, leading from my bedroom straight to the bookshelf, and then disappearing. Just gone. Later that week, I noticed my favorite mug, the one I kept on the highest shelf, was now sitting on the coffee table, a faint ring of condensation beneath it, as if someone had just finished a drink. Objects were subtly shifted, a throw pillow fluffed a different way, a book opened to a page I hadn't been reading. It felt like someone, or something, was trying to make my space habitable for themselves. The obsession took root slowly, then all at once. Sleep became a luxury. Every creak of the old building, every whisper of the wind, sounded like it was coming from behind that wall. The pacing was a constant companion in the quiet of the night. I tried to convince myself I was imagining it, that stress was getting to me. But the feeling of being watched was suffocating. I couldn't shake it. Finally, I gave in. I slid the bookshelf aside, my hands trembling. The door was still there, a silent, impossible guest in my home. I took out my phone and tried to slide the camera lens into the antique keyhole. The screen showed nothing but impenetrable darkness. But through the phone's microphone, I heard it again, closer this time, not pacing. It was a heartbeat. Slow, steady, and definitely not my own. After that, things got weirder. My keys, which I always left in the bowl by the entrance, would vanish, only to reappear in the pocket of a winter coat I hadn't worn in months. I'd hear whispers, faint as air, seeming to come from the vents, repeating my name in a drawn-out, sighing tone. It was a voice I didn't recognize, yet it felt disturbingly familiar. One night, I was startled awake by a loud creak. The door was ajar. Just a sliver of an opening, revealing a corridor that stretched into a darkness so complete, it seemed to absorb the light from my living room. I stared, frozen, as the corridor seemed to waver at the edges, like a heat haze, before the door slowly, silently, clicked shut on its own. Driven by a desperate need for answers, I decided to conduct an experiment. I took a small toy soldier from a child hood collection and placed it just inside the threshold, propping the door open a crack. I waited for what felt like an eternity before closing it. The next morning, I opened the door again. The toy soldier was there, but its plastic head was missing. I tried again, this time with a note. On it, I wrote, "Who are you?" I slid it under the door. A few hours later, the note slid back out. The paper was crumpled, and on the back, in spidery, unfamiliar handwriting, was a single word, waiting. That was the moment my fear turned into a terrifying, morbid curiosity. I had to know what was on the other side. That night, a storm raged outside, rattling the windows. It felt like the world was giving me permission, a dramatic backdrop for a terrible decision. Armed with a crowbar from my toolbox, I approached the door. My hands were slick with sweat, my breath catching in my throat. I jammed the metal into the seam and pried. The wood splintered with a groan that sounded almost human. With one final, desperate heave, the lock gave way, and the door swung inward with a heavy thud. I stepped across the threshold, and my breath caught in my chest. The corridor was gone. Instead, I was standing in a room that was both familiar and profoundly wrong. It was my living room, but different, an older version. The couch had a wine stain that I'd managed to get out years ago. On the coffee table was a birthday cake with 2 extra candles, marking a birthday I hadn't had yet. It was a snapshot of my life, but slightly out of focus, shifted in time. In the corner of this strange, echo chamber of a room was another door, and beyond that, another. I walked through them, each one opening into a new space filled with more doors, all identical, all stretching into an impossible, endless labyrinth. Each door was labeled with a small brass plaque bearing a date, a name. Some I recognized from history books, others were just random names. This wasn't just my anomaly, it was a nexus, a station. At the very center of this vast, terrifying library of exits stood a single, ornate armchair and a full-length mirror. My own reflection stared back at me, but something was wrong. The face looking back was older, lined with awareness I didn't yet possess. And then I saw it, behind my reflection. In the mirrored room, someone was sitting in the armchair. A figure, cloaked in shadow. They were holding something up, something that glinted in the dim light. A key. As my eyes met theirs in the reflection, the figure smiled a slow, chilling smile of immense relief. A voice, the same whispering voice from the vents, echoed in the room, but this time it was clear as day. "You found my door," it said. "Now I can leave." In that instant, a horrifying realization washed over me. These doors weren't entrances, they were exits. And some of them, it seemed, required a replacement, a resident. Behind me, the door to my own apartment, my own life slammed shut with a deafening, final boom. The sound echoed through the endless hall of doors, a death knell for the life I once knew. I was trapped. Some doors are simply not meant to be opened. Some rooms are not meant to be empty. And some rooms are just waiting for a new resident. If this story unnerved you, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more tales from inside the anomaly. Let me know in the comments if you found a strange door in your wall. Would you open it? Thanks for watching.